I think it's been really interesting to see how we all have similar hearts for people. And I think the most encouraging thing, especially when you're acting with other people online, is just to know that we all have just that tenderness towards the lost and the desire to reach people where they're at. And I think that that's a really exciting place to start from when you want to talk about, the future possibilities that come from this.
For me, one of the things I would just consider an honor would be to play even a small part of just sharing my experience. I've been around for a long time, and I wish I had this when I first started. I wish there was a book we could have read on, not even just how to create content, because there was that around, like YouTube videos, how to edit a video, how to create a hook. But I mean more so how to be a Christian on the internet, how to talk about Jesus with a bunch of people who don't want to hear about Jesus, in a way that's not, shoving it down their throat. How to, just really live out your light for Christ on the internet. And I would have loved this type of community to be an encouragement. And the reality is, new guys that are coming on the scene, they've got guys that have been around for a long time. I'd love to just be an encouragement to be someone who's like, hey, I've had the opportunity to do it full time, longer than most, which I consider an honor. But it's also a responsibility that the things that God has given me the ability to learn, that now I want to be able to go over and teach. And not just about content or living out your life, but in understanding the important things that I've really failed at. Failed at not managing my life and my marriage well, the grind. And you learn a lot from your successes, but you learn even more from your failures. And there's things that I've done wrong that I'm like, hey, I want to help keep you from doing some of the wrong things that I've done. I want to help you win and hopefully have it be less painful for you than it was for me. And so hopefully I can just be a voice of encouragement, be, just a big brother in some ways that I can help people learn some of the things that I learned that I wish I had someone to teach me.
Where do I fit in that story of unity? I really see the value in what other people are doing, even if it's different than what I'm doing. And the same way that I have come from the church planting world, and I've seen lots of churches that have been super divided. And it doesn't look like churches that hate each other. It looks like churches that don't even care about each other. A divided church is not usually a church that says, well, we don't like their theology. It's that, well, they have different theologies, so we don't even think about them. We don't have the same people that come in and out, or even try to do events that involve each other. It's just zero care for one another. And so the unity side of online is just trying to keep that, since we're already within close proximity to each other as streamers, trying to keep those relationships as good as possible, because we are called to have a house that's united, not a house that's divided. And the enemy wants to divide us. And so if the enemy wants to divide us, then we have to seek unity.
What is the creator of the universe, the one who created you? What does he say about you?
And if the truth is that the God of the Bible is the God of the universe, and the God who loved me enough that he sent his son to die on a cross for my sins, I want to know that God. And I have found that to be true.
But we're a group of people that do things in a very specific way that with enough intentionality has a grand impact. And people want to be a part of stuff like that. So if we can get ahead of that and stop, just kind of waiting for people to catch up to us, but to present that to people, Christian streamers and stuff like that.
That's really good. I actually really like how this is on that.
OMG, that looks so cool. Thank you. I am really happy with this. I think it turned out awesome.
Come to church!
Come to church tomorrow. We'd love to see you there. But we love you guys so much. Have an incredible rest of your Friday.
I love Jesus, man. He said, guess what? In the Chronicles of Narnia way, like Aslan, I was there when it was written.
Let's just get everyone here, and if all these people can synergize.
We have made it to Cincinnati, excited for this summit. It's first time ever summit where we get to come together as Christian content creators and just talk about how we can elevate the space, right?
If you're searching right now, if you've been looking for a place to belong, and I've talked to so many people recently on Discord that they found our church and they're like, I'm just looking for a place where I belong. I can't find a church. I can't find a people. I can't find a community. I just really want to belong somewhere. You belong with us.
I was just remembering that whenever it was earlier in the year, I did an interview with TJ Daylight that was primarily for work. We have a podcast about like what we think the future of the church is going to look like, and I thought he'd be a cool person to talk about that. I hadn't ever even heard of Lux at the time. So I interviewed him. We just talked about future church and like what it looks like to do church online. And at some point in that conversation, we were like, oh, wouldn't it be cool maybe if we even did like some kind of a get together where we could just get all these people and like just unify the effort and just get clarity around what we're all doing. Man, what a concept. If we could do some kind of a conference, that would be so rad. And he's like, yeah, that would be. And it was kind of just like an aside in that conversation. And we were like, yeah, I don't know how that would ever happen, but that would be cool. And it like kind of sat with me, and I remember going on like a hike with my wife and talking to her about it. Like, man, wouldn't it be cool? Like maybe Plain Joe could sponsor it, or maybe, I don't know, like it's probably never gonna happen though. And then I forget how long, but a couple months later, then I was in your stream for Lux, and I was like, oh, this is cool. And I went to the meet Pastor Mark after, and I was chatting with you about it. Oh, no, I'm skipping a step. Before that, I went on Twitter, and I like kind of agonized over this, and I spent like a whole day like curating a Twitter thread that I eventually posted where I said, hey, wouldn't it be cool, guys, if we did this thing that I'm tentatively calling like a Megazord conference? And like we would do these things and it would accomplish this. I just think it'd be so great. And I tagged like most of the people that are actually coming. And I was like, let me know if you'd be interested. Here's my phone number. Call me, text me, let me know. And I was like, I don't want to like stir up a thing or like make an issue. And Nicole was like, just post it. Like, and I did, and literally no one even like liked it. I have like 2 followers on Twitter. So like, so it's still there, but like no one even saw it. It didn't matter. And I like, and I was like, okay, well that was that. It's never gonna go from there. I made my effort. So anyway, then I found your stream. We chatted, and you were like, that actually is like, that is something that we should do, and that has some legs. Let's look into it. And I just remember, and then like 2 weeks later, we were like, I think you emailed and texted me.
2 weeks later, we had 25 grand at a location.
Yeah, you were like, so I talked to a couple people. We've got 25 grand, and we have a place to do it. This is actually gonna happen.
It is now 5:32, so I've been awake for 3 hours so far. But we're here, Charlotte, waiting for our flight so we can board. You know, I was thinking that it would be good to talk about kind of what I expect from this event. And quite honestly, as I thought about it, I really don't know what to expect. It's the first event of its kind that I go to, and for me, it's a little surreal that I'm even invited to go. So I'm kind of going without a net here. Definitely looking forward to connecting with some of my favorite creators. Really looking forward to seeing what God has for us there. So I'm hoping that with the new relationships formed, the old relationships solidified, that it would encourage me even to continue creating or to create even better. So
That's Chesley. No, it's not Chesley. I'm not sure who that is. I thought that was Chesley. It looked like Chesley. It is Chesley.
Is it?
Yeah. He said he's coming Friday.
You guys come here often?
Hey!
Hi there, Matt, right? Matt, good to meet you.
What's up, dude?
Oh,
dude, good to see you. Asia, I'm Morgan.
We were just heading over to the church to drop a ball.
How are you guys doing? How's your drive up? Easy. That's good.
So my position with LTN is that I am the guy that's in charge of all the long-range vision. Hasn't always been that way, but that's kind of where we are right now, and I love it. It's exciting. It's in my wheelhouse. It's the things that I love to do. How do we see the places where we're going to go, and then I get to talk with talented and qualified people about how to get from point A to usually point Z or double Z down the road. Megazord Summit is crazy. It's what a great idea. I'm so grateful for Zach and Mark and just the vision that they've had to put this thing together, because it allows us to get a bunch of Christian streamers together. Not all of them, right? It's not an exhaustive list, but to get a lot of them together in the same room to look at each other, and not to just to know that they exist, but to see them existing in the same time and space. And then we're going to get to figure out how we take that information that we gain and work together so that we're not trying to make your wheel rounder than my wheel and their wheel and their wheel. We just take the wheels that exist, attach them to machines so that they can move forward and become effective vehicles.
So I'm a Twitch partner. I live streamed for the last 5 years. I'm also the founder and esports director for Oklahoma Wesleyan University, and then I'm one of the owners of Rewind Esports in Broken Arrow, Tulsa. So there's a lot of stuff that entails all of those things, but yeah. My main emphasis is on esports. With Rewind, we're building out youth esports and creating an ecosystem that actually funnels players into the college system. And so I take my college players and they coach the next generation of gamers, and then I give them opportunities. And so I literally just go around, find the best players, and give people scholarship money to come play at the college level. And then I still live stream a little bit, but my main focus is family now, so.
So us at God Squad Church, one of the things we do, I guess the thing we do, and people have kind of noticed, is our mission is to help gamers come to know God, to be able to experience community, discover their purpose, and then make a difference. For me and my team, like what I think it means so much to us is the fact that so many people from around the US have come together and just collaborating in a space that is for so long felt pretty isolated. And like creating connections from distance is so hard. And you know, we might do the one collaboration stream here or the thing, but it still never feels like we're in a unified way. And so many just have so many ideas and trying to share those ideas in a meeting here, a meeting there, and then you know, life gets busy. So for us, this is such a collaborative moment for the Christian community as a whole to kind of move forward in unity. And I don't know, for me that means so much, and it's breathtaking, honestly. Yeah.
Personally, Megazord Summit is a chance to build relationships with these Christian creators that I have known for, many of them for years. Excited to get to know them on a more intimate level, being able to sit and talk face to face as opposed to the kind of one-sided conversation you get through chat, where there's game distractions and lots of other people that are also involved. Being able to have that personal conversation and really get to know their passion, their goals with their own ministry, and also kind of let them know more about what it is that Unashamed Network's about.
Oh my goodness! Oh my gosh, it's awesome to meet you, brother.
Bro, you're here.
I know, right?
In the flesh.
Isn't that crazy?
Oh my goodness.
Hi, man. How are you?
Yeah. No, for me, the main reason why I wanted to be here is just because like I've known so many of the guys here for the last couple of years, and like one thing that really means a lot to me is seeing innovation and unity in the church come together. And so just a lot of different individuals that are talented here. I just want to figure out how we can work together to make the most impact and the biggest difference in the space for Christ. So that's why I wanted to be here, because it's been something that's been needed for the last several years, and the fact that you guys are putting this event on for us, it's an answered prayer for I think every single one of us. So. Yeah.
You said that that you've known Susie for a little while, and you got to meet him for the first time today. You want to tell me a little bit about that?
That was honestly the best experience I've had in a long time. Besides, of course, my wedding, but yeah, meeting Susie for the first time, it was absolutely incredible. I've known him for 6-7 years at this point. He actually brought me back to faith at a time that I was at my lowest point. I was basically a borderline atheist. I didn't want anything to do with Christ after losing my father and grandfather like a year apart. So I really just had nothing to do with it. But then I met Susie through God Squad Church, and he had a thing that he ran called RuneScape Church. I'm big into MMOs, and I actually met him on a random occurrence just in the game at a random off-the-wall location that nobody ever sits at. And tried to figure out what they were doing there. He brought me to God Squad Church and his online stream. And from there, it's been amazing to be able to come back to Christ even stronger than I was previously. To be able to now be a leader which I was at God Squad Church for the time being, but now as a leader growing missionaries to go into the esports and gaming scene to make more and more disciples in one of the largest growing and ever fastest growing area for gaming as a whole.
Things are going great. Playing games, hanging out, things are going great. Had a fire, night one, big success. Big success. Get the shot. That's right. And so it's an opportunity for us to confess what's going on in our lives, confess. You got someone in the room that you feel like, man, I've needed to talk to them about this. Man, I've been holding some animosity. Man, I've been holding some jealousy in my heart. Man, I got to get some stuff off my chest. We don't get unified unless you get into the weeds. And so the goal of having such a small group and not opening it up to everybody and having it invite only and doing it the way that we've done it was so that during the time we had the opportunity to fight for unity in this space. I've been in the church world long enough to see how the physical church does things. And to know that in a small town with like 5 churches, in 11 years, I couldn't get 2 churches to unify. And something that's unique about this space is that doesn't have to happen. And I told Matt and Amanda and Daylight and God Squad early on when we started Lux, I said we can start a reputation and a philosophy here amongst the leaders of the Christian space on Twitch that here we don't compete, we complement. Here we work together, here we encourage, here we speak well of one another. And so the goal of this time is if you sit across from one another and play a game and you eat a meal together, it's a lot easier to speak well of one another anywhere else you are in life.
Do you or have you ever felt like you're going at it alone?
So I'll say this. When Mark called me to tell me about Megazord Summit, that very day I had a conversation with my wife to tell her that I was quitting content creating. I wasn't going to do it anymore because it's not always about the likes. I was just creatively exhausted. But something happens when you reach the end of your point. You do the best you can and then God takes over from there. And God knew exactly what I needed, exactly when I needed it. And Mark came alongside me and said, hey, listen, we're doing this summit and I feel like we believe in what you're doing and we want to resource you.
I think specifically as a woman, absolutely. It's very hard to find your place online and in this space, I feel like it's very easy for women to be overlooked, whether that's intentional, which sometimes it is, or unintentional, which is, of course, I think the more frequent one. But yeah, you feel lonely and very much alone, that you're not seen, you're not valued. Yeah, and I've been in this space for years, and I'm more than just a wife.
Right.
I am doing something, but that's not often seen, and so that is it makes you feel very alone.
Yeah. I think like sometimes I feel like I miss out on some of the camaraderie that like other people in the content creating space in ministry have with each other. And I think like you, like also being a female content creator, but also like not officially being a part of an organization. Sometimes I feel like I'm on the outside of that. I'm grateful that like I get to volunteer with a Light Nerd, and my husband is a part of their staff. And so like to an extent, like I have camaraderie there, but it is a different feeling sometimes that like I feel like I am on the outside of something a bit, but obviously the Lord like uses that to like grow us in humility and in compassion and understanding, but it can definitely be isolating sometimes.
Yeah.
Absolutely, without question. I feel like so often we kind of get on our own island, and that's just the enemy's natural tendency to kind of get us in our own head, right? And to get us so focused inward that we're so focused on what we're doing, the impact that we're having, the community that we're trying to build, that we're forgetting that there's other people out there doing the same thing with exactly the same end goal in mind. So.
Yeah, I've definitely 100% felt like I was going out alone. No fault by anyone else, really just my own fault, where you put your head down, run as far as you can. And for me, because when I first started, I actually really was alone. I was pretty much the first person on the scene. And so I was alone, but then the downside of that was I was alone for so long that even when I wasn't alone anymore, I didn't know how to not be alone. Like I didn't know how to start doing it as a team because I had done it alone for so long, and I didn't know how to just stop focusing on my own content, what I got to do, and start working alongside with other people. And then this event has been so great because sometimes you feel so alone because you just don't know what other people think of you. That's the downside of the internet, right? You've never sat across the table and you can blatantly see like, oh, we actually get along. And so I've always thought everyone was great, but honestly for me coming here, I was kind of like, I don't know what these people are actually going to think of me. We've never met. Are they actually going to like me? Are they going to think I'm better on camera than I am in person? And so I have felt alone, but honestly, it's really just been my own fault for being alone rather than taking the intentional steps to be connected. And now this event has really just inspired me, opened my eyes like, bro, you're not alone anymore. Like, you were for a while, but now you've been alone by your own choice. And it's time to make a change.
God uses catalytic experiences and spaces for the Spirit to break out.
Yeah.
And I'm waiting for the Spirit to break out. So my prayer for this conference is that this is the place where unity comes about in a catalytic way, that the Spirit breaks out in digital communities through each of our communities. Not just like one of them, not through Lux, and maybe not even if it's not through Lux at all, if it's like the others, like whatever. But it's this catalyst, like this place where the Spirit manifests in a very real way, that when unity comes to the church, that the Spirit moves. And that's what I want to see happen.
So what I've really enjoyed seeing, and what I think is really cool about the summit, is how all these guys are coming together, maybe for the first time, and figuring out what they all do. There's some similarities, there's some differences, but I love hearing and seeing the connections of how maybe some different guys in the content and the streaming world are coming together and hopefully connecting, so when they leave, they can work together more, collaborate more, help each other more, pray for each other more, and then collectively the impact for the gospel will be even greater because of this summit. So super excited about everything God's doing here. Can you guys hear what Jesus said? What happens
that feel, Mark?
It's getting heavier.
Yeah. Don't worry. I was thinking back,
I think for me, in regards to that story of unity, we went through the different classes, right? And we talked about those kinds of things. And I definitely see myself as digital missionary is kind of an umbrella, right? But more of a, man, I want to build community with people. I want to build genuine relationships with people. I want to see lives changed and impacted eternally, regardless of how that looks, whether that's people coming to Christ or people getting plugged into a local church or people, really seeking more of what the Lord has for their lives. So I think that's kind of where I'm at, maybe more of a hands kind of guy, out there trying to do the work. I
feel really encouraged, first of all, that it's not just like me experiencing this, because sometimes I feel crazy. Is it just me? But no. I feel encouraged and emboldened to intentionally seek out others that feel, whether they're women that feel on the outside of things or culturally they feel like they don't connect with everyone. It just gives me a greater wind beneath my wings, I guess. That sounds really corny to say, but it makes me feel really excited about serving people that feel the same way as me to whatever extent. And I can struggle with advocating for myself, but it's really encouraging when I can think of Amanda or any others that would fit in that category, that I want to be encouraging to you, not just commiserate over things that we both struggle with, but also how can we encourage each other in this and turn that into a point of compassion and love and service. So yeah, I don't know. I'm really excited.
Yeah, no, 100%. I feel the same way. Honestly, one of my favorite parts of just this whole experience this weekend has been connecting with you and yeah, we're not alone, and to be able to share and to relate and to encourage each other, and it feels empowering, that we can go out and make a difference for other women, and to encourage them, to help them feel empowered, in this space as well. And honestly, even additionally, I think it's been encouraging to begin to build relationships with, the other content creators and organizations that are here as well. It's like starting the process of bridging that gap. Yeah. So, yeah.
For me, and I've been saying this all weekend long, we need more Christian content creators. We don't have enough. And I believe that the harvest is plentiful, and the laborers are few. But I believe that the laborers are few not because they haven't chosen to do that, but because they're intimidated to do it. So I want you to know that this is a community that is open for you. This is a community that is willing to help you, to come alongside you and be a resource for you. Why? Because we're all on the same team. We are all doing the same thing. This is not about us competing together in the world of Twitch. This is us fortifying the position in the world of Twitch, of the gospel, of the church. And we need as many more content creators, Christian content creators, that we can find. Also, among the Christian content creators, we need a lot more girl Christian content creators. Come on, man. We need more ladies that will stand up and say, hey, I'm a nerd. Hey, I love gaming. Hey, I love Jesus. And hey, I want to help connect the two things. I want to connect people to gaming and Jesus. If that's you, please reach out to all of us, any of us, one of us, please, because we need more Christian content creators and more girl content creators. We need you.
So for us, one of the things I think you can get caught up in church life is missing the idea of the big kingdom, the big C. We tend to want to build our own empires or build our own churches and want to make them great. And that's a good thing. partially. But it's bad when you're holding on the reins of people. And we never want to get there. And one of the things we want to do is we want to let our community experience other things and get plugged into a place where they feel like they're being used, right? Like we wouldn't be doing what we should be doing, telling people we want them to discover their purpose, but you have to stay here while you do it. And we want you to make a difference, but you got to do it here. And because some of their purposes is to go into the world and be part of Aki and fam and be able to be a support there where they can be the hands and feet of Jesus. And that's why we do what we do. And so I think for us, this event helps kind of build those bridges and those community kind of outlets for them to be able to build and grow. And so it's going to be huge for our community. Yeah.
Love Thy Nerd is uniquely blessed by the Megazord Summit. We're going to have an opportunity to work with a lot of these streamers, and we've already done that in a couple different ways, but we're going to have the opportunity to work more with them in a more, what I would say, finalized capacity. So we're going to get to determine, hey, this is something that you guys are good at. We, as Love Thy Nerd, have a platform to share this, and that's one of the things that we're trying to do moving forward is platform share. You're a really great streamer, but you do this thing really well. We want to give you a space to do that. We have a podcast network. We would love to have you on the podcast and talk to you about your thing and help you, platform and promote the stuff that you're trying to do. Because one of the things that's super difficult for people that are starting out or people that have been in the game for a long time is just getting people to hear or understand or know the things that you care deeply about. So that's where we come in. Not only are we teaching and training people on how to do those things, but we're also giving them a starting port or a launching pad with access to our community.
I think probably for my Twitch community, I think it represents a lot of what people have been wanting to see in the church, whether they're outside the faith or inside the faith. Just seeing a lot of people come together in the gaming space is something that historically hasn't been looked at in the best light with the church. Seeing so many people that are making a difference and an impact come together, I think will speak to a lot of people in my community, that there's people from lots of different backgrounds that are coming together on one front for one mission together. I think that will send a lot of waves in positive ways that hopefully will move people's hearts and maybe give church a second chance.
So this will be main cam. This will be main cam with these two on the side. This will be side cam.
Summit, what's up? Megazord Summit. Let's go. I'm past 785. Let's go, everybody. Let's go. Absolutely. But we love you, River. We love you.
Girls unite!
Oh my gosh, okay.
We have a united front. We're all trying to reach people for Christ.
Yeah.
We're all trying to bring a positive message online.
Yeah.
And it's really, really cool.
That's funny.
Yeah.
That's actually super good.
I feel like that's a podcast.
Move.
Oh, it's not like that? You're going to see a whole new level of unity in the Christian space now that these leaders are putting together.
It's literally 101% damage, 99% damage. Let's go.
My wife might win this. My wife
Yeah, she might get it. She might get it.
She goes to the up B.
Oh, okay, up B.
Donna's the ability goes in. Using
Whoever's
kills, rolling back and forth. Side B, gonna connect. Going in the down B, connects again. 116.
The combo.
Oh, the
The
hit
combo.
Continues to shield and roll.
Come on.
Tries to suck it up, but doesn't win. Hits the up B again. And about to go for a finish.
Oh,
trying to say.
Oh.
He doesn't
He can't. He didn't know how to let it go.
Great shield coming from him. Continue rolling.
Oh, there we go.
She now is the lead.
Up. There's an egg. He goes over there. Up. Roll. All he wants to do is anger. Oh, no! Let's go!
Put the GGs in the chat!
Let's go!
Well, I definitely think some of the ways that physical ministry could learn from digital ministry is not just understanding the value and importance of it, but understanding how to apply it to their context. You know, I've had so many people tell me, hey, help me launch an online ministry, help me launch an online church. And I'll ask them a question. Have you ever had an online friendship? Have you ever had a friend that you've never met in real life? And they'll be like, no. And I'm like, well, then you're not ready to launch an online ministry, because you're trying to help other people live a relational life that you've never lived, because you don't know what it's like. And two, I'm not even sure if you believe that it works. Because a lot of people think like, if it's not face-to-face, then it's not real. And some people want to take advantage of like utilizing the space, but they haven't experienced how to connect online yet. And so I don't mean that to say like they shouldn't start one. I think that the first step is what they need to learn is, hey, how do you actually build and maintain a friendship or any sort of relationship with someone you've never met? How do you connect with someone even though there's no body language? You might not be able to see their face. How have you learned to trust through black letters on a white screen, or vice versa if you use dark mode? Like, how have you learned how to do that? And I think that's really step one. Like, they just need to learn how to, because that's what ministry is about, connecting with people. But pastors and leaders and ministries, they've learned how to connect in person. Now they need to learn a whole new way of how to connect with humans online. And so I think that's the foundation. Before we worry about tech or how to run a computer or how to do 4K cameras and lights and do a live stream, how do we connect with humans that we can't see? And I think that really is step number one before anything else comes into play.
I think that they can learn that online digital ministry is valid. I feel because they don't understand it. You know, growing up, you know, I grew up in a traditional church, and, you know, churches, you go every Sunday morning, you sit in your pew next to the same person because that's their seat and that's just their idea of church. And I feel like so many people don't think or realize that online ministry is valid because you're not in person. Both are important and both are valid. And I think, I think they need to understand and to see, and I hope that maybe we can help them see that it is so valid that lives are truly being changed. So
that's really good.
I would say this, for many people, is probably eye-opening. And the same way it was eye-opening for me whenever I had been playing video games with a friend for 9 years and we went to Japan together. And actually there was like 5 friends that I'd never met in person, and we all went to Japan together to hang out. And that was very eye-opening to like, oh, these online relationships really are real, because there is a second where it's like, oh, that's your avatar, like that's your real person, that's who you are. And but then after that, you start walking and they're behind you and they start talking, and it's the same coming into your ears as if you have headphones on and you're in a Discord call, and you're like, this is not that different. There are things you can do. You can give hugs. You can actually like have a meal together. Like there are things that are important for physical, but the great majority of the actual relationship itself can absolutely happen online. And that's the portion that people usually use as a dismissal. Like, these aren't real relationships because they're online. And so I think, and I hope a lot of the people here, if they ever felt like that, I'm sure most of them didn't because they get it, they're online all the time anyway. But I hope that was kind of eye-opening. But to, whoever ends up watching this, just that the online relationships that you have absolutely matter. They are real relationships. And so be genuine. Like, be genuine in your relationships with people, and they'll return the same to you. And I think you owe it to them as much as you owe it to yourself to have actual meaningful relationships. I hope that you see that for what it is and not for what other people might tell you it is.
100% the intentionality of digital ministry that you're forced into in digital ministry because you don't have the time to build online relationships or in-person relationships. You want to be able to address things quickly, so you have to be intentional with everything that you do, which is something that the church can learn from because we are terrible at it. Let's be honest. It's just something where it becomes routine and transactional as opposed to remembering why we do this, which is the people. So if we can understand how to build relationships effectively, then it's not always about greeting everybody that walks through the door, but just greeting one person and greeting them deeply, getting to know them deeply, getting into their lives and walking alongside them in this. The Bible says as iron sharpens iron, so one man sharpens another. You can't sharpen if you're always running around doing other things. So it's about focusing back on what is important.
I would say in the flexibility and willingness to work with others, and I mean, we obviously learned that here, right? But it's kind of a human tendency. The first night we were here, we were all sitting around the fire just talking about how so many churches have a tendency to feel like this is a competition, right? Like if I work with other churches, then people might leave me for that church. And I feel like that's just kind of a selfish, hurdle that we all have to overcome, right? That we can work together to further the kingdom, and whether or not people leave my stream to go to another stream or like another stream or better, it doesn't matter as long as they're still being poured into and ministered to. So.
One of the things I've absolutely loved from this weekend has honestly been sitting around the table and just hearing stories of real people who are here in this room and how online ministry has impacted them, how it's given them an avenue to live out their gifts, their calling, their passions, how many people didn't know what part of the body they were until they found out, hey, I don't just have to be a foot in a physical church. Hey, I could be a foot in an online world where I'm playing a role, living out my passions, discovering my purpose and making a difference, and seeing these people really step into what God has called them to do. But then also the stories that happens on the other side of the screen. The stories of the people that they've impacted, people across the globe who might not have access to local churches or churches who aren't preaching the gospel, who don't have avenues for them to be able to hear about Christ. And this online ministry and through Twitch and gaming and nerd culture, it's making Jesus accessible to many people who might not have another chance to hear it. Hearing stories of lives being changed, lives being transformed, marriages being restored, addictions being broken, and taking the medium of gaming and nerd culture to reach people around the world has really, really been such a blessing to many people. Because what I want you to realize is that, sure, what we play on the screen might not be real, but the people behind the screen are. And I believe if we're going to truly, truly live out God's great commission to go into all the world, then we must also go into the virtual world.